In my last video, I showed you this ITSM Service Desk system that I built, and I gave you a demo in terms of how it works with regards to the hardware inventory, managing of the licenses, as well as your knowledge base. We went through the different personas with regards to the IT admin, IT manager, service delivery manager, and the auditor. Today, I'm going to show you how the system is built, starting from the database. So what we've got here on the top half, I've got an empty database in Supabase. If we just go to tables, you can see that there's no tables or anything here. And down here in the bottom half, this is the Honors Governance Academy, and we're going to go to the Service Desk course. Right. Now when setting this up, I always have these 4 steps just to make sure that the database is ready and in a fit condition to start building upon. Okay. Now, these 4 steps is the environment verification, the check required extensions, the verify schema permissions, and the check for conflicting tables. Right. So let's start with the environment. Let's find out what version of SQL we're running. So I'll just copy that. Run. Okay, so we're running 17.6. Perfect. Okay. Next, we're going to check that we've got all the required extensions. So if I copy this and just overwrite that here, run. Okay, so it looks like we are missing. Let me just expand this a little bit. We're missing an extension. Now, this can happen. The extension that we're missing is related to the, if I remember correctly, the asset management part of the database. I've also included within the Governance Academy some fixes for any errors, and it's at the top right here. As I said before, it's actually called the trigram extension, and it's used for the fuzzy software name matching with regards to your asset management catalog workflow. Now to fix this, let's just copy that. I'm going to overwrite this, and what this is going to do is actually create that extension that's missing, and then we're going to use this one here to just verify that it's been created. Okay, so that says success. I like that. Paste that in and we run. Okay, so that's been installed. Now if we go back to the instructions and run step 2 again, we should get all ticks. So paste that in here, run, and there we go. So all the required extensions are installed. We can now proceed to step 3, which is the verify the schema permissions. So highlight all this, select all, paste, and run. Okay, perfect. So that's in place. And then finally, we're just making sure that there is no conflicting tables. We're not going to be at risk of overwriting any existing data. So run that, and it says it's safe to create our 4 tables here. Perfect. Okay, now that's done. We could X this out actually. So now that's done, we could start building out the actual knowledge base schema. So first, we're going to set up the core categories. So we're going to be setting up the table for your knowledge base services, categories, as well as the sequences table. Okay, so let's highlight all this, copy, and we're going to paste that in here and run that. Okay, that's success. So now if we go to the table editor, we should see 3 tables. So we've got our categories, sequences, and services tables. Perfect. So let's go back to the editor. Now we've got that in place, we could go down to the next step. Now with the next step, what we're doing is we're creating the actual core table itself. So this core table is the documents table where your actual documentation will be stored. So let's make sure we copy all of this. Scroll up, oh, careful. I'm going to copy that. Let's overwrite this. Make sure we've got it all in place. Perfect. And click run. And that should be creating our documents table. So we should have 4 tables here. Yeah, so this is our documents table. Perfect. Now what we're going to do is step 3. And then what this does is create a function that automatically generates neat human readable IDs without any duplications. Okay, so we will just highlight all of this, copy, and we're going to overwrite this script here, paste that in and click run. Give that a second. Perfect. Right. Now we want to do some basic security. So in step 4, we need to revoke a general public access and create a specific knowledge-based writer role so that only authorized systems can add or edit documents. So let's highlight that. Now, one of the things that's key with this basic level security, I say basic because later on we're going to be enforcing even more strict rules. But the key thing about this, about having a role that has the power to make edits, is that if you're using AI for any part of the system, AI will not be able to overwrite or change any information in the database. Saying that the end user as well will not have the power to change, edit, or delete information from the actual database. Okay, so that's the lockdown basic security. Step 5 now, we're adding row level security. Now this ensures that even if someone has access to the database, so the knowledge base writer, they can still only see or edit exactly what they're allowed to. Very key. So if I bring back up the service desk system, where I have different roles from IT admins to managers to service desk delivery manager and the auditors, each role has access to different aspects of the database. For example, IT admins do not have access to basically add services or categories, as a simple example, or add additional software to the software catalog. The auditors only have access to generate reports. That is all controlled from within the role level security. So users with specific roles can only see or edit exactly what they're allowed to, like only editing their own drafts, as an example. Okay, so enforce that. We've got to highlight this here, copy, go back up to Supabase, select all and paste that in and click run. Okay, that's a success. Now, finally, we will build a hidden tracking system that logs every single change made to the documents. And we lock the log itself so no one can tamper with it. So every single interaction with the system with regards to the actual knowledge base is logged. So this is kind of long. So let's just make sure we've got everything we need. Perfect. Copy that. Let's just overwrite this, paste and run, and we are good to go. So with those steps, you have completed setting up your knowledge base schema. You'd also find here at the bottom within the Governance Academy, I've got the JSON file, the 10 JSON file, which has each, let's zoom in a little bit, which has each script that we've run. One thing to note, a lot of the scripts I've joined together so that the actual page is not too long, whereas the schema itself, also to help you understand what each script is doing, I've given you an explanation and I've separated the individual scripts. The services table is a separate script from the categories table, for example. Whereas within the Academy itself, if I go down to step 1, you will see that in the script I have included the services script, the category script, and also the sequences script. All right. But at the bottom here, you could just download it and then import it within your NA10, and you will have all the information here. So that is the knowledge base done. Now we're going to move on to the setting up the hardware inventory schema. Including the governance. What we're going to do in step 1 is create the main inventory table. So if we just highlight all of this, scroll down, make sure we got everything. Okay, copy, select all, paste, and click run. And what we should see shortly is, as well as our knowledge base tables, we should start seeing the inventory table. Okay, perfect, that's done. So let's go up to the table editor, and what you can see here is the inventory table has been set up, the hardware inventory table. Let's go back to the editor. So that's step one. Now, step two, add the security and audit login. Now, what this does is locks down the table, so only authorized users can edit it, and set up a background trigger to record every single change made in the inventory. Okay, so let's highlight all of this, make sure we got everything perfect. We're just going to overwrite this, copy and paste, and run. Okay, so that's all good. Now let's go on to step three. And step three, we're going to create standardized lists. Now, what this does is instead of letting people type whatever they want into the inventory in terms of like model of the laptop or desktop or things like that, which, as I've put in here in brackets, which causes messy data, this creates a standardized list for manufacturers, models, and locations. That can be set up in terms of a drop-down list. So rather than an IT admin actually typing it in, they have a mandatory input from a drop-down list that they have to choose from to then move forward and complete the form. So this is what this script does. So let's just copy all of this, copy, highlight, paste that in here and run. Once that's complete, which it has with no problems, perfect. Step four, we've got linking hardware to manuals. Now what this does is creates a helpful view that automatically connects your physical hardware to its digital support documentation. So that's anything from troubleshooting guides, fixes, setup guides, etc. based on the model name. So all we need to do is copy this script here and make sure you've got everything. Copy, paste. We're just going to overwrite it here, paste that in and click run. Next, we're going to move on to step four, and this is linking hardware to manuals. So this creates a helpful view that automatically connects your physical hardware to its digital support documentations. So that can be manuals or it can be troubleshooting guides, fixes, etc. And this is based on the actual model name. So all we're going to do is we're going to highlight everything here and make sure you've grabbed everything. Let's go across, perfect. Copy that. We're just going to overwrite this and click run. Okay, perfect. Now we're going to move on to step five, and this is generating ID tags. Now, I know I've put here optional because based on different business environments, some businesses don't have asset tags and some do. So this is the reason why I've put this as optional, but we're going to include it for the sake of the demo. So let's just highlight all this. And once this is implemented, every new hat will be, let's copy and paste it in here. Every new asset that is entered in the system will be assigned a unique asset ID. And once again, I've also got the hardware schema for you to download and import into your NA10. And what we've got here, we've got a success. Right, just to summarize, we've set up the actual knowledge base schema and we've linked the hardware schema. Now we're going to set up the software catalog structure. Right, so next we're going to focus on the software catalog structure. That is the software asset management side of things. And if I show you the NA10 JSON, so the scripts we're going to run here, if I zoom out a little bit, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different scripts. Okay, first script is the ISO IEC 19770 software catalog schema, and what that does is creates the actual software catalog table within our database. Then we've got the ISO IEC 19770 license entitlement schema that sets up the table for that. And then we've also got the software deployment schema, so it sets up that table. And now we've got the actual compliance calculator script. Now what this is this does the calculation with regards to the number of licenses an organization actually purchases versus the number of those applications that's deployed on their hardware. So for example, if they've got 10 licenses for a particular software, but it comes up that that particular software is installed on 15 machines instead of just 10, then that software is not being compliant. Then we have the audit triggers and security. So again, implementing row level security as well as everything being logged within the actual system itself, ensuring that it's compliant with, again, the ISO IEC 19770 standard. Okay, now if we go over to the Governance Academy, I've got those scripts here. Now they're a lot more condensed as I'm trying to keep the page not too long for you guys. So what we're going to do here, we're going to take step 1 and we're just going to copy all of this, copy and paste that in here and run. Okay, that has been created. If we was to go to the table, we should see, and there we go. So we got the software catalog table that's been created. Perfect. So let's go back. We're going to jump down. Step 2 within the actual Governance Academy, we've got the license entitlements. So we're going to copy all of this. Copy, we're just going to overwrite what we've got here. Click run. Right, so that table's been set up. Now we're going to set up the place where we track the software is actually installed. So this is the software deployment schema. Let's copy all of this and we're going to just overwrite that here. Run. Perfect. And then we're going to move on to step 4. So this is the compliance side of things. And what this is, like I said, ensuring that the number of licenses, software licenses, matches the number of software of that particular software, matches the number of machines that it's actually installed on. That should be everything. So we're going to copy that, paste that in, run. Perfect. Okay. Now we're at step 5, which is the audit triggers and security. So we're just going to highlight all of this. And what this does is enforce, as you can see here, enabling the row level security, as well as creating particular policies as well. As you can see here that we're copying. So we need to copy all of this, make sure it's all captured, copy, select all and paste. And now we're going to run that. Excellent. Now that is all complete and set up. And again, you've got the NA10 JSON file, which is basically this here, that you can download and import, connect to your Postgres, and just run each node to do the same thing that you've just watched here. And that's it. We are good to go. This is the database fully set up. And now we could move on to the actual automations. Okay, so that is, I think, all set up with regards to the database. In the next video, I'm going to show you all the automations that is linked to this database and how that works with the front end.